I think he's on the road not for his mother, but for his brother.
I knew that the reveal was coming, but it was still so satisfying.
I don't know if she actually has a secret, but she always seems like she has a secret.
Greetings, Palaxians. Today on the Bounty Board, the pals discuss episode 5 of Agatha All Along and that needle drop character reveal at the end. So kick up that warp drive and let's punch it. Welcome back to the Guardians of the Palaxy podcast. I am Whitney Van Laningham, and I'm here today with two of my very best friends, the only two guys I would allow in my coven. It is Brett Turley and Eddie Villanuevo. What's going on, you guys?
What is up?
Coven.
Guardians of the Palaxy, what is up?
Pals.
It's great to be back. It's great to be on the show with you guys.
We are so happy to have you back. We love you very much.
Yeah, and I get a chance to look face to face to the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Brett Turley. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing pretty good.
Yeah, pals. Brett got a haircut. That's what you're seeing today. You're seeing haircut Brett. You lost your... no one in the comments is going to call you Adam Driver anymore. They're going to have to pick a new guy.
Right? Hopefully.
How about they just call him Brett?
How about they just call him Brett?
I like that, yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
That's not how the internet works. You get a name, you stick with it. That's a pug. Oh, hello. Is that your familiar?
Yes. Let's get into the episode.
Yes, Agatha All Along.
How do you expect me to get into the episode when he's a perfect little man? He's a perfect little man. That's all I care about now. He's a perfect little man.
What a distinguished little gentleman.
He's just a guy. All right, Pugsley's dad. How did you feel about this episode of Agatha All Along?
Very excited to see the Wiccan reveal so early. I think a lot of us were expecting it. I think everyone who's familiar with the Young Avengers and sort of the casting of Joe Locke, we were all kind of like, okay, that's Wiccan. So for them to just give it to us 5 episodes in is fantastic. Now we can focus on other things and we can actually see him sort of build his character, which I'm interested in seeing how this adaptation makes Billy come to life on screen. So I'm excited for that. And the rest of the episode was also really good. I really enjoyed all of the horror homage 80s stuff.
I have to admit, like the 80s horror cabin, homages and everything that it encapsulated within horror cinema was absolutely a huge grab for me. Obviously, like Brett was saying, I was also waiting for that Wiccan reveal. And again, everybody who knows, they know this character, they know who that character is, and so they're just waiting, and it's kind of like that slow descent. Do you guys remember that movie Hot Tub Time Machine when they're constantly waiting for that guy's arm to get taken off? It's like each episode was like, is this it? No, is this it? And so for this to happen and this being the clean cut of reveal, I thought it was very interesting. I thought it was a very unique way of doing it, and especially at this point in the series, I'm anxious to see what's coming next after the fact. So.
Hell yeah. I mean, I loved that they gave Billy a Billy reveal. It was Billy and Billy, double Billy all the time. I really, really loved that. I loved that he was such a little mom guy in that moment where he was just like, bitch, I'm the Scarlet Witch's son. Fear me. And I do fear you. I think that you're amazing, Wiccan. You're great. What a badass way to introduce a character. Also, I think it's kind of hilarious that Agatha has just been beefing with him since he was a child.
Yeah.
She just started having beef with this 9-year-old down the street, and now she's still beefing with him as a teen.
Yeah, without a doubt. There was a point in that first episode where I'm like, does he not remember when he was over her house in the previous series? I'm like, this all looks very familiar, but that's what makes this series so great, is that we have so much history already established with us knowing the characters, that we're waiting for those bombs to hit. We're waiting for those explosions, because once they do, we know it means sparks are going to fly. And obviously, much like this episode, sparks flew at that end of the episode.
Yeah, he was just like, don't talk fucking shit about my mom. Kapow! It was amazing. I hope that that's how Pugsley defends me in public.
Very much so, yes. Let's go ahead and start out the episode talking about the beginning of this episode too as well. I mean, we get that great intro of the witches and everything going on, and
it's broom time, baby. Yeah. It's time to take it back to the classics. We've got the Salem 7 hunting them down. I loved that they all had their own little forest animal associated with each of the witches. So there was the fox, there was the crow, the snake, and then one lady just had a mouthful of bees, which was terrifying. Oh my God. That was so many bees in that woman's mouth. Holy shit. I hope she's okay.
As long as they didn't do it the same way that what's his name did it in Candyman. Seriously, where he actually had to have bees in his mouth to do that with Virginia Madsen. Like,
That's how they filmed that?
Wait, they really put bees in his mouth?
So the way it worked was
like Steve-O in the most recent Jackass was a daredevil because he put bees on his dick. Bees in your mouth is also very scary.
Tony Todd had to have them coming out of his mouth, and then he had to actually do the kiss to Virginia Madsen. And I believe it was like he got like X amount of money for every bee sting, and he ended out with a good chunk of change.
Holy
but he had to,
shit.
That is commitment to the role. Tony Todd is the man.
Popped a quick Benadryl, saw the Hat Man, and collected that paycheck. Hell yeah, brother.
Yeah, hell yeah.
We love to hear about. That's a really cool piece of movie trivia.
Yeah. But I mean, we get the great scene where obviously they start having to turn to the idea of using a broomstick, and we get that great little ensemble of like cacophony of complaints of like, no, because it's such an archaic thing for them, and it's something that they don't want to do because it's so stereotypical. But it turns into this really great scene where you get a little bit of like sensual, chemistry.
It is so lesbian that they are doing a little broom dance and everyone else is complaining and they're just off in their own little world, just broom dancing. Yeah. It's great. I loved it. I thought that it was gay as hell.
Well, and it's funny because Shashir Zamata, the actress who plays one of the witches, she obviously does stand up, and she does this really great bit where she talks about how the origin of the idea of riding a broomstick came from back in the day when women would put a hallucinogenic drug on the tip of a broomstick, and then they would place it as such and, have a little special time with the broom. And so the idea of getting high on the broomstick kind of came to fruition.
Oh, I have weed lube. Does that count? Is that kind of the same
that's kind of the same thing.
I feel like that's kind of the same thing, right? Hell yeah.
I mean, hey, whatever
Get your pussy a little stoned. Why not? Women deserve that after a hard day of dealing with men. We deserve a little broomstick and a little pussy high. Why not?
Well, and she laughs because she goes, we're men look at this, and they're like, obviously, apparently their direct answer after that is, we need to kill them. And she's like, what the hell? Like, these are the types of women you want to take home. These are the types of women you want to marry. And it's like, yeah, I mean, if that's how freaky you're going to be in your own time, come on, just bring it downtown.
Bro, I let women jerk off with broomsticks and weed lube. That's all I have to say.
There you go.
Ye old weed lube, which was apparently more of a PCP type situation, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm more than certain that they were seeing a little bit more than just pink elephants with those broomsticks. So
hell yeah, the Hat Man again. All right. What if you're jerking off and the Hat Man appears? I'm sure that's happened to someone. I'm sure someone's popped a few too many bennies and seen the Hat Man. And don't do that, pals. Don't do drugs, especially don't do Benadryl in large quantities. It's very bad for you.
There you go.
Yeah, I very much love that scene. Very much love that anecdote. Probably more than I love that scene, in fact.
And it's so great. Like, you get this whole cacophony of understanding of like, even the witches in the series are like self-aware of like, this is so stereotypical. This is so, and it turns into this actually probably one of the more fun scenes that we've seen in the series, where they're all riding on broomsticks and they're having a great time. And it's like to see Patti LuPone riding a broomstick. I mean, come on. How many times have we seen that? I'm trying to think on Broadway, probably not many, but either way, it's Patti LuPone. So,
and Aubrey Plaza's cackle as they're to the earth.
She's always having the best. She's having the best time every time on the worst day of these other people's lives. It is the worst day. It's the worst thing that has ever happened to them. And Aubrey Plaza is having a ball. She's great.
And not to mention the great homage to like the OG cinematic witch, Margaret Hamilton, with laugh. Like, it's so perfectly pitched and delivered. And again, Aubrey Plaza is one of those types of actresses who is just, I don't know if she actually has a secret, but she always seems like she has a secret. Even if she's not on stage, if she's just walking down the red carpet, she'll look at the camera, turn, and you're like, you fucking know something. I know you know something.
Where's the body, Aubrey?
Exactly.
Where are the bodies, Aubrey. Tell us where they are and no one gets hurt. Tell Dr. Spencer Reed, Matthew Gray Gubler where the bodies are. I am begging you, girl. Dude, yeah, I love Aubrey Plaza so much. She is absolutely just like eating up the background of every single scene she's in, having a ball, having a blast. Everyone else is freaking out. She's not. She's like, this is great. We're going to talk to dead people. This is great. We're going to be in a band. Like, I love her so much.
Literally, when she's not even speaking and she's just in the background of a shot, she adds so much to the scene. And I think Catherine Hahn also kind of does that, where like, this is their show, and everyone else. I mean, you got Patti LuPone, and like Patti LuPone's fantastic. The cast is fantastic, but seeing Aubrey Plaza and Catherine Hahn just have so much fun being witches is the highlight of this series.
I mean, it really is.
I feel like it just has to be said that there's so much sexual chemistry in this series between those two characters.
Oh, 100%.
It's so gay.
And it is so palpable. Yeah, it is so fantastic because it's like this is what Disney has needed to do for all this time. Like Disney has needed to just own up and be like, all right, yeah, they exist. Lesbians exist in the world.
Gay people exist. Hey, guess what? Guess what, guys? It's fine. I'm very surprised too because it's on Disney Plus, and a lot of the time the Mouse House doesn't really.
Can't really talk about witches without having lesbians involved.
Yeah, you can't talk about witches without there being lesbians. It's impossible.
Yeah,
quite true.
Just
very
look
true.
at the Owl House.
Oh yes,
gay witches everywhere. Gay witches abound. Gay witches aplenty.
And it was good.
It was a great show. Another great Disney show with gay witches that everyone should go check out. It's a fun one. Little light background homework for your Agatha watch. So speaking of Rio, I have a theory that this week's witch trial was actually Rio's trial and not Agatha's. But Brett and I live together, and I know what he thinks. And I think that Brett thinks that it was actually Agatha's trial. So, Brett, why was this week's episode Agatha's trial? Why don't you think it was Rio's?
One, that it's a Disney show, and I think they don't throw a lot of curveballs. They throw very specific curveballs at us. And this episode, they were like, this is Agatha's trial. And I don't really feel like there's a reason why there'd be an impactful twist where it wouldn't be. But also, there is the 4 basic elements in each which kind of grafts onto one of those 4 elements. But I believe it's Wicca. I'm not 100% sure. There's also the 5th element of spirituality.
I thought that the 5th element was Bruce Willis.
No, it's love, if you've watched that.
No, it was Lilo Dallas Multipass.
Yeah. So yeah, we have the 4 basic elements, and then those graft onto the other witches really well. Jen is water because potions slosh. Alice as fire. There was fire everywhere in that episode. Very clearly, like, Kitty Foreman and Rio are the earth because Gardner and I'm the Green Witch. From what we've seen with Patti LuPone, air is very sort of like light and sort of flittery, like her brain. And then this episode, the 5th.
Are you just calling her an airhead? That is so sad. Don't call women that. Wow, what a misogynist. Wow, Brett. You're calling a woman an airhead. Right. And not just any woman, but Patti LuPone. You're calling Patti LuPone the Patti LuPone an airhead? Wow. Canceled immediately. Toxic behavior.
I would have gone for her, like, you know, predilections to singing and being more verbose and airy. No. I mean,
I love that they just had her playing the fucking maracas last episode. It's like you have Patti LuPone and you're just gonna give her a triangle. You're gonna give her some shakers.
She feels underutilized, right?
Very
musically, yes.
I don't know. So I'm kind of agnostic about this now that I think about it, because I would easily say it was probably Agatha's trial. It could also be Rio's, but I feel like there's also an argument to say it was neither's, because just the way everything kind of rolls out, and we'll talk about it in a second, but like the way things roll out and the way things kind of seem to be a little orchestrated, maybe who's to say if it was even a trial, so to speak, on the Witch's Road. And again, we'll talk about this in a little bit more in detail next, but I don't know. Like, it's still like difficult to say. I mean, obviously, as the ADHD person that I am, the most logical answer is it's Agatha's. So, Brett, point to you. But I'm interested in hearing Whitney's thoughts as to why she doesn't believe it is.
I am Team Rio, and I will tell you why. Number one, point to Brett, because I forgot that there was a spiritual realm that could be part of it. I was just thinking Avatar rules, baby. I was airbending my way through life. Earth, wind, water, air. Let's go. So I forgot about Spirit World.
Remember, Captain Planet even had heart, so that's 5.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. And the fifth element is love. I think that the fifth element is Bruce goddamn Willis, but that's just me. I think that it could be Rio's trial. I think that it could have been an Earth trial. And here is why. Number one, they start talking to the Ouija board. And the first thing that it tells them, they ask, who's in the room with us? It says death. So death. We all kind of assume that Rio's character is Death, so that could have been the Ouija board also announcing who the trial was for. Step 2, I think that it was Rio's trial because, as we've learned in past episodes, Agatha is Rio's scar, and Agatha is Rio's one Hamartia. That's like the one thing that is holding her back. She does still love Agatha. She still wants to protect Agatha. She still is honoring whatever agreement they have about not being able to kill her. So I think that this was a trial because the theme was punish Agatha. And I think that punishing Agatha is probably the hardest thing for Rio to do, because all of those other witches were just like, you have been shitty and selfish and bitchy this entire time. We will absolutely throw you to the wolves. And Rio was the one who was like, no, her mom can't have her. Like, I'm not letting her mom take her from us. I'm going to fight for her. I'm going to, keep trying to get her back. So I think that Rio was standing up for Agatha against her mom as part of the trial. I think that the trial wanted Rio to let Agatha go and to punish Agatha and finally just let her go, which she hasn't been able to do yet. And then my final reason is kind of dumb, but I like it. In the end, they're all in the ground. They're all in the earth. They all end up in the dirt and they fall in and it's like a little sinkhole. And I think it could be an earth trial.
Counterpoint, that was after they finished the trial.
Not a counterpoint. It's still part of the trial. It's still part of the episode. It's still part of the trial. They go in the dirt. Rio's an earth lady. She's going to have to maybe dig him out. I don't know.
Do you guys feel like Agatha's mother was actually Agatha's mother in this trial? Or do you feel like she's maybe a manifestation of whatever entity is like distributing the trials on the Witch's Road?
It could be. It could be, again, the ghost thing, because Rio is like, I hate ghosts. So if it is Rio's trial, it could have been the ghost could have been involved for that reason. It could just be a manifested emotion. That's actually sort of something that we see in the Owl House with the Grom, where the Grom just kind of turns into your biggest fear, whatever that might be. We've seen that in Harry Potter, fuck J.K. Rowling, support trans people. But we saw that with the Boggart in Harry Potter, where that turns into whatever your greatest fear is. So yeah, I think that it could have been, the Ouija board could have been projecting just whatever Agatha's like greatest pain point would be. But I do think it might have been a real ghost, because like the demon in Alice's episode was real. It turned out that curse was what was like riding on her back the whole time. Like we saw the scars. So we saw that, that manifested in physical form during the trial. So I don't see why a ghost couldn't also manifest in physical form. Their hallucinations in episode 2, those were just hallucinations, but that was because of the wine. This wasn't. There was no like hallucination. So I don't know. I tend to believe that it was a real ghost involved. I do think it was really her mom.
No, I think the evidence supports it. I now that you bring it back with the previous episodes, that would make a little bit more sense than for it to actually be her mom. So you swayed me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was Rio's job to fight her mom, because I think that was something that Rio was obviously sensitive about during their relationship. She knows how much Agatha and her mom having like, mother-daughter beef, like has upset her, like in their relationship. I'm sure that Agatha at some point has cried about the fact that her mom fucking tried to have her killed because she can't control her powers.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that Rio was like, if I ever see your mom, no, fucking kick your mom's ass, dumb bitch, So it could have just been something as simple as she knows that this is something that upsets Agatha so much. And it's something that also upsets her because she loves Agatha.
I think it's Agatha's trial. And I think the punish Agatha stuff, I mean, what we see actually like successfully end the trial, not only is the death of Alice, but the introduction of Nicholas Scratch finally as that little baby voice. Mama, don't.
Mama, don't. No,
Don't.
mommy. No, mommy, no.
I think the punishment that she finally receives in her trial is sort of being brought back to whatever happened between her and her child. And I think Whitney had a really good theory.
I do, but I would like to point out with that technically, this is not the first time that the Witch's Road has brought up Nicholas. So it doesn't have to necessarily be her trial because Nicholas has been brought up in other people's trials too. Nicholas was in the little baby carriage during the hallucination episode.
Mm-hmm.
So that one was Jen's trial and Nicholas showed up there. So I still think it could be Rio.
But his voice showed up, is what I'm saying. He showed up, and it wasn't just a hallucination on Agatha's part.
So I think my theory about the baby boy, and you guys can tell me what you think. So just because of the way that kid was like, "No, mom, no, stop it," I was wondering if Agatha accidentally killed her son by sucking his powers because she can't control it. Yeah. And so I wonder if that is how that happened. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure that her son wasn't like, like a small child trying to attack her, but maybe he was casting magic. It got sucked into her magic suck orbit. She drained his life force without meaning to. And Rio had to come take her son away. And that's why she hates Rio, because Rio couldn't give her son's life back. And maybe she hates herself and she knows that she can't control this power because she couldn't control it with the first 7 witches that tried to kill her. She couldn't control it with Alice. Maybe that's how little baby Nikki died. Maybe she accidentally fucked him up with her powers.
Or even, I mean, we know that there's history between her wanting the Darkhold. It could be something as tragic as like she was doing something to get the Darkhold, and her son being probably like, I'm gonna guess like 6, judging by those child drawings from the first episode. Manifested his magic and was like, "Mom, no," and like tried to like stop her and break her from doing whatever was required for the Darkhold. Yeah. And as a result, sort of a similar thing that happened with her and Alice, where Alice was like, "I'm going to save you right now," and then it turned negative. And then it's her, she has actual guilt for her desires causing the death of her child.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. I like that.
Which I feel like, so I do agree. Like, one of the great things that we've come to realize about this series is that when it comes to the character of Agatha Harkness, there's not a lot of depth to her lore within the Marvel Comics universe. And so taking the jump to pretty much risk a whole series off of one character, there must be something that Catherine Hahn is about to unveil or just explode into that we have yet to see, that is going to be so immense and so powerful that it's going to change the way we see the magical side of the Marvel universe. And I feel like this is one of those moments where we're getting little hints of the hazy past, if you will, of who Agatha was. And it starts to break down kind of this ruthless, just narcissistic person that we've come to know throughout all these episodes, and start creating a complex character. And that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to with this. And I feel like that has to be what Whitney kind of suggested. That has to be probably what's going to be unveiled. where he's maybe picking up a ball and he's like making it float and he sends it over to her and she touches it and touches the magic and it just starts vacuuming all that magic out. And then we get a little prune baby at the end of that, just
no palpatining the baby. Stop it. No, bad. It could be something as simple as that. It could be something as complex as getting the Darkhold. We don't know. But I do think that she was somehow responsible for killing her son. And I think it does have something to do with her inability to control her powers. So something else that we should talk about, speaking of that scene where, she kills Alice, something interesting is that we finally understood what Lilia meant with her previous two premonitions. In episode 4, she says, Alice, don't. And then in episode 2, she says, try to save Agatha. So she's clearly had been trying to say, Alice, don't try to save Agatha because you're going to get got if you do. So I think that that's so fascinating that we now know that like all of her premonitions are coming in out of order and backwards, essentially. Yeah. So it's going to be like, keep on the lookout for the next one. Because this one, in this episode, her thing was, I think it was like, I hated this just as much the first time or something along those lines. So I wonder what that is like. Half of a prophecy about.
And I feel like there's something central to Patti LuPone's character within this journey that they're on that is going to bring not only just everything that she's stated as, premonitions to instances in the episodes, but I feel like we're going to lead up to a moment where all of these things that she says are going to pretty much be all part of that final story, that final episode, where every single piece of it is just going to fall into place. We're going to, as the Marvel viewers, people are going to think like, oh, it's just from the next episode, whatever. But the way Marvel works and the way the powers that be and the writing teams and whatnot, they're probably gearing up for a bigger twist of where it's just, oh, by the way, these are legit, like everything she's going to say in this last instance of, confrontation in the series, and it's just going to make total sense once you see it. And I'm totally on the ride for this.
Hell yeah! And I think that in past episodes, Palaxy has theorized like, is someone on the other side of all this speaking through Patti LuPone, or is it Patti LuPone? Is it really her premonitions that are just happening out of order in those moments?
I threw that out there.
Yeah, that was your theory.
I think it's pretty clear now that it is just Patti LuPone.
That is just Patti LuPone.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I thought it was Billy at first, but I now think that it is just Patti LuPone's premonitions. Lilia's. Sorry, she has a character name.
One thing I wanted to ask you guys, do you feel like that particular trial could have ended had they continued using the Ouija board to summon Nicholas Scratch so that he could make that statement at the end and torture Agatha with what he says, and then that would have immediately created like the finality of everything?
They could have like kept like getting information from Nicholas Scratch, or that Nicholas Scratch might have himself might have shown up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And that could have ultimately, that could have pulled pretty much like saved everybody. Oddly enough, this series has reminded me a lot of like a Saw film, because it's like every time there's like...
They're locked in like a giant fucking escape room that sucks and keeps killing all their friends. So yeah, it's kind of like Saw.
Exactly. And instead of like people like actually, dying and whatnot through brutal, well, it is kind of brutal at times, but like brutal machinations or whatever, it's like through magic or whatnot. And it's like, you're going to find out at the end, oh, you needed everybody alive because in order to do this, you need all 5 people, blah, 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 blah. If the instructions said to not let go, if they would have kept going, even if Agatha's mom showed up, they would have kept moving forward. Eventually, they would have gotten to the point to where Nicholas Scratch would have, or whatever entity is trying to embody that they would have, he would have appeared in whatever form and ultimately created like this torturous moment for Agatha. But she adheres to the rules, she follows through, and they succeed, and they all get to leave alive.
I think it's kind of like a video game, probably, where it's like, yeah, you can get a good ending, but you also need a strategy guide for it.
Yeah, and I also was wondering too, like if she hadn't let go of it and they just kind of kept going, but she had let go at a different part in the game. Would it be a different ghost that came out? Like what? Like how far was this game? How many spirits were hiding in that Ouija board?
How many endings does this game have?
Yeah, how many endings? Seriously, like a choose your own adventure, but there's like 9 million, and it's all Agatha's trauma. It was like the Ouija board was just filled with people. Like at one point was her sixth grade bully gonna pop out and be like, "Hey, fuck you, Agatha, your skirt sucks." Like, you fucking dork.
Oh, that would have been great. I would have paid to see that one. Yeah.
Same.
Yeah. It's all part of the DLC though. So it comes out next year.
So I do think, speaking of Patti LuPone's vision, Lilia's vision.
Yes.
It's never, I'm not going to do it.
It's just Patti LuPone is so iconic. I don't want to disrespect her by not calling her by her first and last name.
Speaking of her vision, I think I didn't mind doing this the first time or whatever it was, is an implication that they are going to have to go on the road again. I think what's happening is they have gone into that Earth and they've been shot back up to Westview because we've seen in some trailer footage Jen crawling out of like the dirt in Westview. So I think what's happening is they're going to get pushed to the surface and then they realize, oh, damn, we left our little teen on the witch's road by himself, and there's a bunch of spooky critter ladies after him, and they're gonna have to go rescue teen, and then sort of like the stakes get raised.
They left their gay teen son on the road. They left him. Technically, he just banished them back. He was just like, hey, don't fucking talk shit about my mom. And just like got him. Seriously, one of like the best reveals in all of the MCU, in my opinion, not just Marvel television, but I think in all of the MCU. And I knew it was coming. I knew that the reveal was coming, but it was still so satisfying. Yeah. Oh, I knew it was going to be.
Oh, yeah. Like, because I mean, we all know. I mean, we're obviously all fans of Marvel. We've read the comics. We're like, we know who you are. Do you know who you are?
Do you know who you are? Do you know that your boyfriend that you were talking about in episode 1 is going to be Hulkling? Do you know that?
It's going to be a different guy. It's not.
You think it's going to be different than Hulkling? Yeah, I think it might be Hulkling.
First of all, I don't think his name was Teddy. So already,
Hulkling has abs.
Okay.
He needs a boy with abs.
You're not wrong. Guy. I don't think that guy had abs. I don't know.
Whatever. Doesn't have to be, but what if it was? But what if? Marvel, what if?
There you go. What I was even saying.
Okay, I'm really sorry that I got you off your track.
I feel like though, like I do feel like, because I haven't seen any of the promotional stuff for the next episode. I'm trying to come in, fresh-eyed, virgin ears and eyes, everything, all that kind of stuff, which is difficult in the state of California. So
I apologize.
No. It's not. It's not by my own doing. It's just I'm too busy to kind of stick away and check out YouTube. But I do feel like if we do see them emerge back into Westview, I feel like it's going to be something that has to do with the agreement as a coven that they're going to go. I feel like they're going to be forced to re-enter, not by like means of like, oh, he's still in there or this is happening, blah, blah, blah. I feel like they're not going to be able to leave like either that property of Agatha, like where the property line is, they can't go past it or something. And they have to go back in there because coven rules or whatever. So I feel like that's going to be the turn they take for that.
Man, it's gotta suck to have to start over on the Witch's Road, though. That is like the last thing you want to like have to like start at the beginning for. Like earlier tonight, I forgot to hit start on the podcast, and we recorded 26 minutes without actually recording it. We just talked at each other for 26 minutes, and that's what I imagine.
And it was one of the best 26 minutes of my month. I tell you what,
it's one of the best 26 minutes that you'll never see. That the pals will never see. But yeah, that's what restarting the Witch's Road feels like. That's how I felt when I had to restart the podcast today.
unless they incorporate some kind of like save file element into the show.
What if they can just get dropped back at the save point? Oh, that'd be sick. What if Wiccan installed a save point because he's a teen and he's hip on the video games?
Yeah, it is. I think they are going to just probably get. I think they'll get a pass. Yeah. And I think that's what's going to happen. Because I don't think there was enough trials for them to do a like fun little montage where they're like, all right, we beat this before. Let's Groundhog Day this.
It's like that extra
want
life
them
coin that
to.
comes into play. So,
Yeah, exactly.
I want there to be a montage. I live for a good montage and a witch montage. Whew, sign me up. Sign me up for that montage.
A lesbian witch montage? Yes, sign me up.
Lesbian witch montage? Give me that. Inject that shit straight into my veins.
Okay, so I do want to go... So I do want to go back to the Wiccan conversation because I think that's where we got distracted.
Yes.
First off, probably the second best needle drop in Marvel after I Am Iron Man.
Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic needle drop. I love that it was Billy for the Billy reveal.
I loved that it was Billy for Billy, and Billy's a gay icon, and Billy's a gay icon. There's just gay Billies everywhere, and I love it. I love that. I love the new MCU, baby. Let's keep going.
Once again, yeah, we all knew it was Wiccan, but man, what a cool
as soon
reveal.
as his little hand filled with that blue fire. Remember
Electricity.
Electricity. Remember little baby Wiccan, and he had his little fire when he was in the street in WandaVision, and I was just like, yeah, it's him. It was so cool. I loved it.
Yeah.
And I love that we got, so like in the comics, when he first appears in the Young Avengers, he's not Wiccan, he's Asgardian, because like a gimmick for the Young Avengers was originally they all appeared to be legacy sidekicks to the Avengers that they weren't actually attached to. So his whole thing was like, oh, he's a Thor character because he had a little bit of sparky magic, and then it's revealed that no, he's actually a Scarlet Witch, Witch's child. So I think that was really cool. And then also we got him with like that blue headband throughout this whole episode. And the obviously wears like a Naruto headband. But it's a reference to his Asgardian costume, which I think is really cool. I wanted to talk about, though, the themes of the episode and Billy's reveal for his powers. And so much of WandaVision and this show is about having uncontrollable power. And yes, we've seen this in so much superhero media, but I think it's like the central thesis of what Jack Schaefer's work is sort of about. With WandaVision, I don't think they fully got to address this idea and deal with this idea fully. We have that line that's like, oh, the people of Westview will never know what you gave up, Wanda. And like that has caused a lot of really frustrating, I think, discourse. But this show is, to me, it's sort of the opportunity to address those same themes and expand on those themes. And I think with Agatha, we have a character who can't control her magic, or we are led to believe that she can't control her magic. She just sort of hoovers up whatever's shot at her. And Wanda is another character with immense power, but doesn't know how to control it. And I also think in this scene with Billy's upset at Agatha for being
killing Alice.
Yeah, he's upset with her for being a killer, and yet at the same time he doesn't know how to control his powers and they get loose. And he does something that kind of is similar. And I think we're seeing parallels not just between Agatha and Wanda, but now Agatha and Wiccan. And it's going to be really interesting to see how those paths diverge. And I'm wondering if Agatha is actually not going to be redeemed by the end of this, so that she can be kind of this foil to Wiccan and also Scarlet Witch when she potentially, most likely, returns.
Yeah, and I agree to that wholeheartedly. I feel like Marvel has been very concrete in wanting to establish characters who have outlandish power sets, and let's even take a step further, not so much the Marvel cinematic aspect, but even just Marvel as a whole. I mean, you look at the stories from X-Men, you look at the stories, through every other aspect of most of our heroes, the Hulk, individuals who have power sets who can't really contain what they have, and so it becomes an issue until they learn to hone it, or they have somebody come in to help them hone it. And I think this is one of those things where we have the opportunity to see the road to greatness for Agatha in her effort to not only hone it, but to also allow herself to be what we know her to become in the comics, which is a mentor type character. As we'll see, in the comic book, she's, a mentor to the Scarlet Witch. She is like a nanny to Franklin Reed. I mean, we get all these really great moments in her story, but they're not really as in depth as we would like them to be. With this, storyline brewing the way it is, no pun intended, and knowing that we got things like the Fantastic Four down the line, we have the Young Avengers, we have all these elements that incorporate a portion of who she is in the stories that we've read through the pages. To see her begin to build the character who she is now, I do hope that this ride lasts for a good amount of time, because her role could be monumental as we grow further down the road. And I do agree with Brett. I really hope that her redemption isn't found quite yet in this particular series. And I do hope that we still continue to see her, find who she is and hone that part of herself that needs to keep in control. And not just the power set, but also, obviously with the way Disney is and Marvel is, they want to incorporate also real life elements in terms of like understanding, death. If there's one thing that I gathered from that series of WandaVision, I learned like coping mechanisms and things like that for like losing people. And it was like so out of nowhere, left field. Like, for God's sakes, the line that Vision gives to Wanda when, they're sitting there and, grief is just another way to, it's like, I can't even do the line because I know I'll start crying. Like, but I
cry every time.
That scene is like, it gives us back something that we can apply to ourselves and then make ourselves feel like that superhero. And in this case, I think it's in the same element where we're going to see Agatha struggle. We're going to see Agatha have a difficult time putting together her things, almost like people who have ADHD and people who have issues with, I know I should be doing this, but I'm just like, dude, I literally saw a tweet today and I'm like, that is so me, where it's like, I'm literally the type of person who will go into the kitchen to make myself a cup of coffee and 30 minutes later still find myself reading up on what's going on in Greenland. Like that's literally...
Yeah, absolutely.
and I feel like that's something that we're going to be able to see, as well as other elements, to like really incorporate, how we can connect to the character and how that character will play a bigger role, not just in the Marvel aspect, but even as, the connecting points to our lives. And again, I really don't hope to see that redemption anytime soon, but I do hope to see the work. And that's what I'm pushing for. I want to see the work.
I think she's kind of this phase's Loki, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think she's always got to have a little bit of mischievousness to her.
She's always going to be a bad girl. She's in the bad girl coven after all. Another Owl House joke, ladies and gentlemen. Ha ha. So with Teen and his powers, Billy and his powers, Wiccan and his powers, I am on board with the idea that his powers came about because it was an emotional moment for him. And I do agree with that. I think that that's the way that a lot of powers end up manifesting in the MCU. Unless you're Tony Stark and you build your powers in a cave with scraps.
True.
But everyone else, most other heroes do have to go through some emotional trials to find their powers and their strength. Thor has to get his hammer back. Hulk has to realize how to stop ripping through so many goddamn pairs of purple shorts. Everybody has like a struggle that they have to go through. So I do agree that is probably one of the reasons why Wiccan's powers activated them. But I'm also wondering if he's been in on it the whole time. Whoa! Because if you guys look back at all the episodes, so with the first trial, he was the one to read the card on the mantle. Second trial, he was the one who found the record and smashed it all up and realized that they needed to play the Witch's Road song. And then in the next one, he is the boy who reads all of the Ouija board instructions for everybody to get that party started. Yep. So I am like, clearly he's the one who has, whether intentionally or unintentionally, started all of these trials. So clearly, I think that there's a part of him that did know that he was going to be able to do some of this stuff on the Witch's Road, because he was the one who came to Agatha. He broke her out of the spell. He was the one who helped her gather everyone for the road. He was like fully intent on blackmailing Jen about her lotions. And he was fully invested in getting everyone together. And then every single time they've started a trial, it's been him who kicked everything off. So it feels like he wants the trials to start. He wants the trials to continue. And so I'm wondering if, in the same way that all of those witches are going on the road for their own self-centered purposes, I wonder if he also is. And that's something that he gets mad about in this episode, because he's like, all of you guys are just so self-serving. You're so selfish. You just, you know, you don't actually treat each other like a coven. Like, you just killed Alice. You guys are assholes. Like, I'm going to take all of you out. But I wonder if he's a little bit of a hypocrite and if he has a hidden agenda that led him down the witch's road, and what that could be. I mean, if he has it, it has to do with his mom. I mean, it's going to have to be.
I actually don't think it is.
You don't? You don't think it's going to be a Scarlet Witch related issue?
I mean, it's definitely Scarlet Witch related because. But
what if he's just like, I want to kick your ass because you hurt my mom, lady? No. What if he's just, that's how I want Pugsley to defend me in the streets?
So I think what we're getting is Wiccan is playing Agatha. Whether he put that sigil on himself or not, he's known that he needs to use Agatha to get to the end of the Witch's Road for a reason, and I think he knows that he's Billy going into it. Jack Schaefer said that every witch on this road is hiding something, and that would also include Billy or Teen.
Well, when I read that, I was like, oh, well, he's hiding that he's Wanda's son. So at the time, I didn't. Well, I didn't think he had a separate sexy secret, but now I think he also has a sexy secret, like Aubrey Plaza, like the rest of them.
I think he's on the road not for his mother, but for his brother. And I think he wants to get Tommy back, because we know we're not probably going to get Elizabeth Olsen back for the end of this series. And we know that they're planning on, this is all rumors actually, but like there's rumors about that they're planning on doing an adaptation of the Children's Crusade, which is one of my favorite Young Avengers arcs.
Oh, wow.
That would mean they are going to need to have a Young Avengers team together.
And like Elizabeth Olsen knows all too well, you can't just have Mary Kate without Ashley. So I'm sure that she's going to put both of her twin baby boys on the team.
So I think if you're unfamiliar with the Children's Crusade.
If you're unfamiliar with Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, they were a set of twins in the 1990s, and they're the older sisters of Elizabeth Olsen, who plays the Scarlet Witch. Mary Kate and Ashley are known for films such as How the West Was Fun and Double Double Toil and Trouble. Okay. It's back to you, Brett.
Thank you, Whitney.
Back to you in the studio.
If you're unfamiliar with the Children's Crusade, it's basically a plot to bring back Scarlet Witch, who's lost her memories, and she disappeared from the world, which is kind of a similar state that we're in right now with the MCU, and all the Young Avengers go on a quest to bring her back. So I think we're getting that, and I think that's going to be a big event film, and I think this is going to just be sort of the lead up for that event film.
I feel like
fun.
There's a lot of credence to the theory. However, I feel like there's one key element missing, and I feel like Wiccan isn't working alone. I feel like there's someone on the back end who is either giving him insight, because I mean, he knew a lot about who he was approaching when they were doing the coven recruitment. He was absolutely prepared. He was ultimately the perfect Boy Scout for most of these situations, and keeping calm and cool. And I feel like it's because he either has insider information or he's being led by someone. Maybe someone who is already currently on the Witch's Road or has power over the Witch's Road. I don't know, but I feel like he's definitely not working solo on this. And it could be, I do agree, he could be, leading towards gaining access to bringing Tommy into reality. I don't think it's going to have to deal with Wanda at this point. I feel like it is his brother. But I do feel like there is another entity that's amping him to get to where he needs to go.
I really like the idea of it being Tommy. I think that's a cool idea, Brett.
Do we think his partner's Rio?
Ooh, he and Rio as partners? That could be cool. That could be fun. I don't think so, though. I think she wants to eat him too bad. I think that
I agree to that.
If he tripped and fell onto a barbecue, she wouldn't be mad.
Nope.
So I don't know. She kind of looks at him like she could like snap his little leg like a chicken and gnaw on it.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're in cahoots. Maybe he's working with my wife Mephisto. What if he's working with Sacha Baron Cohen? He could be.
Yeah. There you go. I don't know. Like I don't, because the thing is, we've heard that thrown around so many times that it's almost like a bad taste in your mouth now of hearing it. Like as much as I initially thought it was a good idea, now I'm just kind of hoping it's anybody else but. However, I mean, if all roads point north, then I mean, obviously it's that.
I'd be cool with it if they give Mephisto a singing role like Sacha Baron Cohen had in Sweeney Todd. Like if Mephisto turns out to be a singing devil, I'm all for it, baby. Bring him back.
Bro.
And
that
have
was
him
one
do
of
a
the best
duet with Patti LuPone.
Yes! Yes! Sacha Baron Cohen and Patti LuPone doing a duet would fix me.
That's one of the best. That's one of the best parts about Baldur's Gate 3 is there's have you played
in it?
Is it Patti LuPone does a solo with Sacha Baron Cohen in Baldur's Gate 3?
So the devil is a total theater kid.
And wow!
When you unlock the battle with him, he just starts singing his own theme song while you fight him.
Hell yes,
and it's
I love that.
Oh
fantastic.
my god, I got to see that. I haven't been able to finish the game yet, so I'm like, I got to see
Okay, so
that.
it's more likely than I thought. Mephisto could have a musical role, and I would love that personally. I don't even like musicals. I just want Mephisto to be a musical man.
Do you guys have any ideas to like what the big buildup at the end of this series might be? Do you guys have any inkling, like maybe a theory or whatnot, where you think this is headed? Do we feel like Agatha is going to get her full power at the end of it?
I don't know. And I'm also just like, how are we gonna get Rio off her tail? You know, because like Rio's like pretty hell bent on killing her as soon as she gets her powers back. So if the like season does end with her getting her powers back, how do we then dissuade Rio? Because that's a whole secondary problem after that first problem gets solved. There's a bunch more waiting. I'm sure we're going to kill the Salem 7. They seem pretty killable. Old B-Mouth and Snake Body over there. They're going to be, they're going to get got at some point. I believe it. But I think we have a Rio problem. And I do think we have a problem with getting her powers back.
Yeah, I think ultimately Agatha is going to need to take accountability. That's kind of her character flaw. So whatever that means, it probably means that she forgoes the power that she seeks in order to strengthen the coven and take care of the rest of the coven and sort of undo all of the selfishness that she has caused. In terms of like the reveal, I think the hints that Rio is a bigger character is going to play a role. But I also do think that we probably are going to see Mephisto, just because this is like a Wizard of Oz story. And the Wizard of Oz,
the man behind the curtain.
There's a man behind the curtain at the end of
There's
the road.
always a goddamn man behind the curtain.
To me, it makes the most sense that if we're going to be adding Mephisto, who we know is going to be in future projects, to the MCU, this is kind of the best way to introduce him.
Yeah, but I feel like if they do, I don't think the Mephisto is gonna like be in an episode. I think they're gonna do like a Thanos thing, like, you know, like when they initially were like teasing Thanos and they would just have him like turn around in the chair and be like, yes. Like I think it's gonna be something like that.
I think there's full on gonna be a guy behind a curtain cranking a little crank.
Really?
Like,
you think
don't
it's gonna
look
be a
at me! Don't look at me!
Don't look at me! Stop it! No!
He's like, I fell through a damn portal like 300 years ago, and I've just been here.
I got swept up in a tornado, and I've been on the Witch's Road the whole time ever since. I can't get home.
That'd be hilarious. I would laugh so hard.
Actually, I would love that.
Eddie, what do you think is at the end of the road?
I want that. Like, honestly, I mean, with all the allusions towards like the Wizard of Oz in the post credits and you know, in the end credits and everything and all that, I hope it leads us to a point to where we have a quite literal man behind the curtain. And it could be man behind the veil of whatever is, you know, keeping everybody in that space of constant trials and chaos and whatnot. And it's ultimately maybe some kind of, you know, celestial portal plane, whatever, that someone's just manning, and he's like some kind of, if it's Jeff Goldblum and he's just there is like, I was just trying to do another game. Yeah, and it's like, I would absolutely lose my mind.
This is my escape room slide.
I want that. That's my vote.
Well, hell yeah, baby. At the end of the Witch's Road, I want Agatha and Rio to have passionate sex. I want to see the Marvel Scissormatic universe, baby.
Put those
intimacy coordinators to work. Make them earn that paycheck.
There you
Hell
go.
Yeah. A lot of kissing, a lot of hand holding, a lot of hugging, intimacy
a lot of broomsticks.
right and left, being like, hey, kiss again. Do a little kiss. And I would love it. That's all I want. I want a little kiss.
There you go.
Eddie, where can we find you, man?
You can find me over at the Filmlosophers podcast over on iTunes, Google, iTunes, Libsyn, Player FM, Audio Boom, Amazon Music, everywhere else where you listen to podcasts. Look up The Filmlosophers. We're there. Give us a follow or subscribe. You can also find us on our website at filmlosopherspodcast.com. And you can check us out on the socials at facebook.com/filmlosophers and on Twitter, Instagram, Threads at Filmlosophy101.
Hell yeah. Thank you, dude, so much for coming on this episode. We fucking always love having you.
My goddamn pleasure. It is always like, no joke, it is always like coming home when I get to hang out with you guys. So
the Palaxy is home. You're always welcome here. Everybody out there, take care of your pals. Check in on your pals. Tell your pals that you love them. And we will be back next week for the next episode of Agatha. Woo! Goodbye.